Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian Moise, and I'm the founder and CEO of Aequilibrium, one of the top digital agencies based in Vancouver, Canada. Today, I'm going to share with you some of our learnings in terms of the work we did to use XR to craft remarkable experience for the workforce of the future. I'll start with a quick introduction about myself and Aequilibrium. I'll share with you the agenda for today, and after that, we'll start tackling the topics. Briefly, I started building immersive experiences in Europe as a lead game developer for Ubisoft many years ago. I also worked for Electronic Arts as a development director, and I was part of the team of executives who built the mobile gaming division for Electronic Arts. And why that's interesting is because mobile has introduced a disruption, a change in terms of how entertainment and content is being delivered. Electronic Arts, the largest game developer in the world, didn't just take the games that were running on the big TV screens and shrink them to fit on the PlayStation Portable and Nintendo DS. They came up with new experiences that were afforded by mobile. We are in a similar, if not even bigger, revolution of the metaverse. And how do we deliver experience and content for it? That will be part of my presentation. There is a bit of a duality in terms of my experience, both academia and the industry. I was an assistant professor of computer science, and I will talk a bit about how training and education are radically changed through the use of XR. In terms of the work that we're doing at Aequilibrium, we are a professional services organization doing consulting and implementation services. We help brands to connect with their customers, to create remarkable experiences for their employees and for their members. We also have an innovation lab, and we incubated some products internally, and we're actually launching one of them, Agile VR, this week in Miami, and I'll talk about this later in my presentation. In terms of the agenda, I will focus on the 3 R's at the top, on the employee experience for recruitment, retention, how companies and employees can partner to weather the storm and become more resilient and grow. We'll talk about different solutions that XR provide for some of the world's biggest problems, such as the supply chain challenges. And then I'll focus on the workforce of the future to conclude. So XR can make such a difference in the entire employee life cycle, starting from how you recruit people, but also how to accelerate their learning through onboarding experiences that are powered by XR. Also, very valuable on-the-job training. It is estimated that almost 100 million jobs will disappear because of AI, machine learning, and automation. But also millions of new jobs will be created. So it is paramount for employers to continue to upskill their workforce, to give them opportunity to stay relevant and add value in the economy of the future. We actually tackle this problem, and for our people and culture team, we develop an AR application that works on iPad that enables new employees to get up to speed faster, to be more engaged with our organization. So for example, you see this type of augmented experiences. Should you look for a colleague, this list of the employee list was going to show up. You can search a person in that list and then get the information about them. Where are they sitting? And then you'll see it like an arrow point out, this is where the desk is. You'll see like what team they're part of, what activity they're having through the integration that we did with Jira or with Slack. You can also get a sense, if you're looking at a meeting room, you want to get a sense if the room is busy or not, what meetings are taking place for what client. So these are the type of experiences that you can have on your mobile phone or an iPad to help people learn more about the company culture, who's who in the organization, and where do they can find the people or the meetings that they're looking for. Resilience is important, especially during this unusual economic and political situations. So organizations are partnering with their staff to enable them to not only weather this difficult years, but also continue to differentiate and strive and grow. We're seeing that organizations who have adopted XR at scale have seen benefits that translated in more efficient way to getting things done, more employee productivity, and engagement. We work with one of our clients, Tableau, and the head of technology for Canada to find a business case in which XR is making a difference not only in the life of their employees, but also of their customers. So for the people familiar with Tableau, they have these data engineers. They're looking like enormous sheets of data and trying to figure out insights. They're a bit like detective work. What is this data telling us? What are the patterns that emerge? But also, how can I use this information to predict what's going to happen in the future? So how can we support this people in their detective work? And they are kind of lone wolf. They're kind of doing their own work on their own. So using Microsoft HoloLens and digital twins, we look at a problem that there is vast amount of data coming in from doing a digital twin of a building, of a complex. You're looking for heating to electricity to power consumptions to ventilations, safety, and so on. And in addition to the rows and rows of data, by presenting this information and allowing remote team members to use the HoloLens to change different data parameters and see how the environment will respond, not only we help them understand the data points, the insight that they were looking into, but also we enable this type of data scientists who are typically operating by themselves to actually collaborate at a distance. In terms of the current situation, so I visited some showrooms more recently, and they're pretty empty. Not only that, there isn't much product to see or to try or to test drive, but you pay for a car today, and it may take you 18 months to 2 years to actually get it. So how can manufacturers, let's say auto manufacturers, fill this gap in the experience from what's happening when you go to the dealership? Obviously, some companies are trying to figure out, can I bypass this dealership and go and sell directly to consumers? So what we're seeing is, for example, to put a new vehicle out, it may take 5 years from the concept to basically research, market validation, building the prototypes, definitive product, and then distributing it, and take billions of dollars. This process is becoming increasingly difficult because getting those parts, doing this physical experiment, can take even longer. So we're seeing a lot of them have actually adopted XR anywhere from the product design process, so early stages, to try to create these virtual simulators and then run them by real users so they can discover problems early on, saving times with incremental physical prototypes. They're also able to collaborate with experts from teams from different offices. It is also a great tool for training and learning. So for example, for mechanics, to keep their certification, they need to go through hundreds of hours of regular training to stay relevant. And now this on-the-job training using tools like augmented reality enables them to see the physical parts that they're working on with kind of that on-the-fly manual. We'll talk a bit about the workforce of the future. I was at a conference with a number of CEOs, and some of them well-established companies, some unicorns, some in startups, and we're asking, what is the idea of culture, especially right now when we have these distributed teams? What is culture in the context in which everybody gives their staff a laptop, a paycheck, and a box on the Zoom screen? How do we enable this differentiation, this employee engagement? We heard about the big resignation. There is also a silent resignation, people who do just enough so they can maintain their jobs. We believe that XR is part of the solution to improve collaboration, engagement, and creativity for these distributed teams. A few weeks ago, we were meeting in person with one of our clients. The first day, we met with their VPs and directors, and the full second day, we focused on how XR can make a difference for these top financial services institutions from the Washington state to help them discuss with their stakeholders, with the board, these ideas about how to go from transactions and commodity type of services to focus on wellness, financial wellness for their members, but also for this type of engagement with their own employees. It's a competitive environment. How do you attract this talent in the context in which most of the work is done remotely? To address this problem, we incubated this new product that we just launching this week called Agile VR. Many years ago, I read the PMO in a number of technology companies, and I introduced Agile development that provides a new solution, moving from the traditional waterfall, big upfront planning to this more nimble approach called Agile development. But Agile was saying that to get this done properly, you need to have fully collocated team who are working in the same office, in the same time zone, and dedicated to one project. I don't know about your organization, but many of the people that I talk to have at least some form of distributing teams. And either they have remote first, in which the team by default are distributed, or they have some form of hybrid, or some form of working remote and in the office. We looked for a solution that addresses a number of the problems that we're seeing in the current Agile development teams, which is about how do we go from doing tactical, routine things to improving collaboration and creativity. Some of the work we do, we call them emergence project. We start that project, neither us nor the client knows what the solution is, because we're not doing a deja vu, copycat of something that's been done 50 times. We're solving a problem nobody else in the world has done in the past. And to do so, we need to engage our teams, our joint teams, in the process of co-creation. And we're doing this, but in this tool, Agile VR, we haven't just digitized whatever teams used to do in an analog format. And then think about tools like Zoom or Hangouts or Microsoft Teams that have this kind of tiled videos with people faces displayed there. Bill Gates called this Hollywood Squares. Instead, we came up with a solution in which the team create custom environment. You have no constraints, so with that in mind, we're not just digitizing what used to happen in the analog mode. Instead, we're coming with a brand new solution to change the way these agile distributed teams work together. So for example, when you're having these Zoom meetings, in addition to the Zoom fatigue, and every one of us is familiar with those implications, your brain automatically scans all those faces on the screen, makes you tired. The other aspect is all the sound is coming from your TV. And instead, if you go into a virtual world, if you speak to somebody, you'll look at that person, you can now, with these more modern devices, you can see their facial expressions. They have full bodies avatar. And if you talk to me from the right side and nearby, I would hear you from that direction, while you're far in the back, I would hear, coming from that direction. So this three-dimensional natural sound is part of the experience that we're providing here. The other thing is, when you're doing these things such as estimation, people are good at this type of linear thinking. So this estimation sometimes used to determine the complexity of a problem or a ticket look like things like t-shirt sizes, small, medium, and large. We created ways for people to do this type of poker planning or estimation in which it is visual, because we have all the resources and assets we want in these virtual worlds. So we've been using this both for our internal teams, and then we've been using this with some other teams from our organization or our clients. And the team is here with me. We are one of the sponsors at the booth 304. So for people who are interested in learning about how we are evolving this project management practice, and we're doing that without changing whatever project management tool you're using right now. So we created this abstraction layer because what we're doing is basically a presentation of your project management organization, your tickets, your backlog, using Agile VR, but if you're using Jira or Microsoft DevOps or Trello or Basecamp, that is irrelevant to us. You can continue to use those tools. We're just creating a better presentation on top of that. So we'd like to invite you to join us at booth 304. Also, I have some of my colleagues here in the room who will be happy to help you or provide additional support and answer your question. This wraps up my presentations. Thank you very much for your attention.